What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be going through my Week 12 picks and predictions for every game of college football. I'm going to break down each top 25 game and predict the score as well as the spreads and the over-unders. And for the unranked games, I will just predict the winners pretty quickly. But before we get into my predictions for this week, let's look at how I did last week picking games. Now, overall, picking games straight up, I went 36-16, so definitely not a bad week. But against the spread and my over-under predictions, I was below 500. I did not have a great week doing that. I've had some really good weeks getting around 60%, but this was not the week. I went 24-28 against the spread, and I went 21-31 with my over-under predictions. Regardless, let's keep predicting games and let's get into this week's predictions. Starting off with the number 19 Louisville playing Clemson. This game will be played Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and these are the AP poll rankings. So Louisville will probably not be number 19 in the CFP poll, but as of the making of this video, that poll hasn't dropped yet. And this is really a tough game to predict because Clemson is a team that can play very good sometimes, but Louisville is also a pretty good team and one of the better teams in the ACC, and they have this game at home. Clemson's run defense is always a bit shaky, and Louisville has a beast at running back in Isaac Brown. Ultimately, Louisville at home, I can trust them to bounce back after that bad California loss. Louisville's usually pretty good on Friday night matchups, and I do think they'll win this game. I think it will be close. Clemson can fight, but give me Louisville 27-24. Give me Clemson plus 3.5, and I have the under. The next game is number 7 Oregon versus Minnesota, Friday 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Oregon finally gets to catch a break. They've been playing in sloppy weather conditions, and that was a tough test on the road at Iowa, but Minnesota's one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They don't have much going for them. Oregon should get a little bit more healthy heading into this game. Hopefully they get one of those top playmakers back because their offense was bruised in that game against Iowa. They had their top 2 wide receivers and their top tight end out and one of their top offensive linemen, but I do think they'll bounce back with a big win in this game Friday night. Give me Oregon 38-6. I really trust their defense to keep Minnesota to under 10 points, so I like Oregon minus 21.5 and I have the under. The next game is number 2 Indiana versus Wisconsin, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. While Wisconsin found life against Washington, they won alone with their defense, and they are not going to be able to score much points on Indiana. And Indiana has this game back at home, and after they played a bit poor offensively against Penn State, I expect a big bounce back from them. They needed that adversity. We'll see if Elijah Surratt is back, but this team should run through Wisconsin. They have one of the top offenses in the Big Ten. So give me Indiana 45-7. I like them minus 30.5 and I have the over. The next game is number 3 Texas A&M versus South Carolina, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. A&M has looked super consistent lately. Maybe this is a trap game for them. South Carolina is a team that could come out and give you a test any week. It is November and this team has played very good in November recently, but not this year as they have really struggled. They have not won a game in SEC play outside of the Kentucky win, and it's just been a tough year for South Carolina. Lenoir Sellers does not have a great team around him, and A&M is a complete team from top to bottom, and they are playing their best football right now. I trust the squad to win this game 38-17. I like them to cover minus 17.5, and I have the over. The next game is number 23 Pitt versus number 9 Notre Dame, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. If the weather conditions are sluggish in this game, Notre Dame could potentially struggle. But I do like Notre Dame on the road in this spot. I just think Pitt's defense is too bad. And personally, I do not see Pitt scoring a bunch of points regardless of how good that offense has been. They have been playing no good defenses and now they are running into a brick wall in Notre Dame. Pitt's had their ups, but they've also had their lows, and I don't think this team is very good. I think they're solid and could compete for an ACC title, but Notre Dame is on a roll right now. Jeremiah Love will run all over that defense, and they will control this game. I trust them on the road. Give me Notre Dame 38-17, cover and minus 11.5, and I have the under. The next game is Northwestern versus number 18 Michigan, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Michigan will probably win this game with their defense. It's going to be a slow start on the road. Teams struggle on the road at Northwestern. And Michigan has been inconsistent on the road this year. This game definitely has them on upset alert. Northwestern is not a bad team. And Michigan just has a couple of games to win, and they will be a playoff team because they have beaten Ohio State the last 4 seasons. The rest of their schedule is easy and they might beat Ohio State again, but they have to beat Northwestern. This is a tricky one on the road, but I do think their defense is very good. I like them to win this game with the defense and run game. Give me Michigan 24-14. I will take Northwestern to cover plus 10.5, and I have the under for this game. The next game is number 22 Cincinnati versus Arizona, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. It was tough to go on the road in a late night game at Utah against that very good defense. Utah has been able to dominate teams that aren't built at the line of scrimmage because they are in the top 3 in line of scrimmage play in the Big 12, and that really helps them. So while Cincinnati got blown out by Utah, I don't think that score shows how bad they are. They're still a good team, and I do think they're better than Arizona, and Brendan Sorsby will have a bounce back game. They have it at home. I like them 34-24. I like them to cover minus 5.5, and I have the over. The next game is Navy versus number 25 South Florida, Saturday 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Navy might slow this game down with time of possession, and that's probably the only way they'll keep this game close because I think South Florida is just a better team. They've had their struggles on the road, but I think Navy is not that great. They were undefeated, but they played a very weak schedule, and when they played North Texas and Notre Dame, they got demolished. And with the injury concerns with Blake Horvath, I expect a blowout in this game. South Florida is a lot more talented. Give me South Florida 41-24, covering minus 9.5, and I have the over. The next game is number 4 Alabama versus number 11 Oklahoma, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If Alabama wins this game, they will probably go 11-1. But on the schedule, this might be the most worrisome game for me, at least in the back half of the schedule. It's one thing to win at Missouri and beat teams like Tennessee and LSU, but I do think Oklahoma's defense is very, very good. Alabama has not faced as good of a defense as Oklahoma's. And with Oklahoma coming off of a bye week, I think John Mateer could play a good game and do enough to get them to an upset in this game. I think Alabama is due for a loss. Their run game has struggled so much, and that might hurt them in this game against a very good Oklahoma defense. They struggled last year against Oklahoma, and I think this spot will catch them. Give me Oklahoma to upset Alabama. I like Oklahoma 20-17. I think they'll win this game with their defense. I like Oklahoma plus 7.5, and I have the under. The next game is number 8 Texas Tech versus UCF, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Texas Tech is going to run through UCF in this game. The way they dominated BYU and Kansas State, there's nothing that has me concerned for Texas Tech in this game with how their front seven's been playing on defense. Give me Texas Tech to win this game big, 42-10. Maybe UCF scores a late touchdown. I love Texas Tech minus 23.5, and I have the over. The next game is Duke versus number 20 Virginia, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Duke has the potential to win out and win the ACC, and they will probably not make the playoffs, as a 4-loss ACC team might not make it over the second best Group of 5 team. And I really do think Duke has the upper hand in this game at home. Virginia has been struggling so much on offense, and while Duke lost to UConn on the road, that's not the worst loss. It could be worse. Virginia had a bad loss to Wake Forest as well. And UConn is undefeated at home this year. They actually have very good offensive upside. But Duke also has very good offensive upside. They will be able to win this game. Mensa is just too good of a quarterback. I like Duke 34-27, covering minus 6.5, and I have the over. The next game is Boston College versus number 14 Georgia Tech, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Georgia Tech's defense collapsed against NC State, but outside of that game, their defense has at least been okay and done enough. And personally, I don't know if their defense will play that bad again. And with Haynes King in that offense, I trust them to bounce back and make every game a battle. They could compete with a lot of good teams, but their defense could also lose them games, as you saw against NC State. This could be a tricky one on the road, but Georgia Tech is a veteran team. I trust them to bounce back. Haynes King will have another Heisman moment. He needs to be talked about more. Give me Georgia Tech 37-20, minus 16.5 covering, and I have the under. The next game is number 16 Miami versus NC State, Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. While this game could turn into a shootout, I really think Miami's defense is very good, and they will slow the game down with their Russian attack. But this one won't be easy. NC State's coming off of a big win. They're a pretty well-coached team, and Miami's a team that really struggles in the back half of the season. Regardless, they've already lost 2 games. I do think Miami will win this game 31-24. I will take NC State to cover plus 14.5, and I have the under. The next game is number 17 USC versus Iowa Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. USC is a touchdown favorite in this game, but this game's going to be tough. Iowa has a very gritty team, a great defense. They are well coached and really could give USC trouble. But personally, I do think USC has enough talent, and I think they've grown enough at the line of scrimmage. They just have too much talent, and it's hard to win on the road in the Big Ten, especially when you have to travel across the country. Iowa is beaten up from that game against Oregon, and I think USC is playing some good football right now. Give me USC to win this game in a battle, 24-21. I will take Iowa plus 6.5. I really trust that defense, and I have the under. The next game is number 24 James Madison versus App State Saturday 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. James Madison has been rolling, but App State is a team that could give them trouble. They've had their good games. But personally, James Madison is just a complete team. They might be the team that represents the group of 5 in the playoffs. I like them to win this game 35-20. I'll take App State plus 19.5 and I have the over. The next game is number 21 Tennessee versus New Mexico State, Saturday 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Nothing much to say about this game. Tennessee will win big. I like them 55-14. I like them to cover minus 38.5 and I have the over. The next game is number 6 Ole Miss versus Florida, Saturday 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Florida has had their ups and downs, but their ups are not really that great. DJ Lagway has his good games every now and then, but he doesn't have a great team around him. Florida is in shambles. Florida will score more than they did last week against Kentucky, but Ole Miss will still win this game. They have too much on offense, and they have it at home. Give me Ole Miss 34-17, covering minus 13.5, and I have the under. The next game is Baylor versus number 15 Utah, Saturday 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If this was at Utah, I do think Utah would just demolish Baylor, but going on the road to Baylor could be tricky. Baylor's defense is pretty bad, but it has showed growth. And they having this game at home makes me confident that Baylor can keep this game close through 2 or 3 quarters. But ultimately, that trench play and the defense for Utah will prevail. Give me Utah to win this game big, 38-24. I like Utah minus 7.5 and I have the over. The next game is number 1 Ohio State versus UCLA, Saturday 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Ohio State managed to not cover against Purdue last week. It was very dumb. But they have this game back at home and they should run through UCLA. Give me Ohio State 42-6 to cover minus 30.5 this week, and I have the under. The next game is number 5 Georgia versus number 10 Texas, Saturday 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Texas offense has turned up recently, but they're running into a defense that might have had its best performance of the year. They shut down Mississippi State for a majority of the game, and that offense has been rolling with that run game, and Gunnar Stockton is so underrated. You can never count out Kirby Smart at home. Georgia is a very tough team to beat at home, and they've had Steve Sarkisian's number. Steve Sarkisian and Texas cannot beat Georgia. This game could get ugly, but I do think Georgia won't run up the score. Give me Georgia 31-21, cover in minus 6.5, and I have the over. The next game is number 12 BYU versus TCU, Saturday 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time. BYU is coming off of that tough loss against Texas Tech, and TCU has been growing on defense. But personally, TCU's offense has been lackluster and they cannot run the ball. BYU should be able to win this game with their defense. I like BYU in this home spot to bounce back. I like them 28-23, covering minus 4.5, and I have the under. But with that out of the way, let's get into predicting the score for every unranked matchup this week. I have Akron over Kent State 28-21. I have Ohio over Western Michigan 27-20. I have Central Michigan over Buffalo 27-22. I have Northern Illinois 17-10 over UMass. I have Miami, Ohio 28-21 over Toledo. I have Old Dominion 30-24 over Troy. I have Kansas State 41-13 over Oklahoma State. I have UConn 41-24 over Air Force. I have UTSA 44-23 over Charlotte. I have Eastern Michigan 24-21 over Ball State. I have LSU 31-28 over Arkansas. I have Oregon State 27-17 over Tulsa. I have Arizona State 28-16 over West Virginia. I have Kentucky over East Tennessee State 34-13. I have Marshall 38-31 over Georgia State. I have North Texas 41-17 over UAB. I have Missouri State 26-17 over UTEP. I have New Mexico over Colorado State 35-13. I have Penn State 31-17 over Michigan State. I have Illinois 38-20 over Maryland. I have Western Kentucky 31-13 over Middle Tennessee. I have San Jose State 27-20 over Nevada. I have South Alabama 31-21 over UL Monroe. I have Southern Miss 42-23 over Texas State. I have Memphis 34-31 over East Carolina. I have Tulane 38-17 over FAU. I have Wake Forest 20-17 over North Carolina. I have Liberty 38-31 over FIU. I have Coastal Carolina 37-31 over Georgia Southern. I have Washington 34-14 over Purdue. I have Delaware 37-24 over Sam Houston. I have UNLV 45-31 over Utah State. I have Florida State 31-21 over Virginia Tech. I have Missouri 27-20 over Mississippi State. I have Kennesaw State 34-29 over Jacksonville State. I have Washington State 27-10 over Louisiana Tech. I have Boise State 24-21 over San Diego State. And I have Fresno State 31-17 over Wyoming. But anyways, that is going to do it for my Week 12 picks and predictions. You guys let me know what you agree or disagree with down in the comments below and leave your predictions. Let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But anyways, that is going to do it for this video and peace out.